everyone. Today I want to talk to you about listing presentation objections. And I wrote down 5 of the most common listing presentation objections, and I'm going to give you an objection handler for each one of these. So I wrote down, can you cut your commission? I want to think it over. I want to interview other agents. Other agents said they can get me more money. And have you sold homes in my area? I think these are the most common ones, top 5. And before I take you through each of them individually and give you an objection handler for it, I want to say there are certain things that you can do before you get to the appointment and during your presentation to avoid getting these objections. And what I mean by that is a listing presentation, a listing appointment is not an isolated event. You don't just out of nowhere plop into a seller's house and that's it. There's certain things that happen before you get there. That is, you've had a conversation with them, whether it was over the phone or in person, and they agree to meet with you. You got an appointment. Ideally, after you get the appointment, you are going to pre-qualify this appointment very thoroughly. You're going to ask a lot of questions. The purpose of the pre-qualifying is not to, because they might have objections even then. It's not to handle objections while you're pre-qualifying. The purpose is for you to gather information. What are their objections? What are the questions they have? What are they looking for in the agent that they're going to hire? And you, with all of that information, you show up to your appointment and you're going to actually address those objections and questions within your presentation so that when you get to the end and you ask them to sign, they don't start saying, this and that. I'm going to interview other agents. What I'm saying here is if you are getting a lot of objections when you ask them to sign the listing agreement, there are certain things that you didn't do correctly up until that point, okay? So that's not what this conversation is about today. This is about just giving you the objections and an objection handler for it. But I do want you to understand what I just said because it's very important. Better than having to handle objections at a listing presentation, at the end of it is to avoid getting them in the first place. So let's talk about, can you cut your commission? Let me say a couple of things. Commission. When a seller asks you, can you cut your commission, or another agent said they will do it for less, that kind of conversation. This is a conversation, the seller is saying this to you or asking you if you can cut your commission because they don't feel like, based on everything that you said to them and you showed them up until this moment, they're not feeling like you are worth the commission you charge. Now, before I say that, let me back up for a minute. Sometimes a seller will ask you, can you cut your commission, just because they have to. It's not about they don't think you're worth the money you charge. It could just be that, they're going to ask, why not? I've had that happen many times on listing presentations where the seller would just say, can you cut the commission? And I'd say, no, my commission is X. And they say, oh, okay, just thought I'd ask. It could be just that, okay? It would be great, right? If it was always just that, because that would be easy. So really, when they give you this objection, your first response here is just going to be, no, my commission is X, or my commission is X. Just let's go ahead and get the paperwork signed. And that might be it. That might be the end of it. So that is always your first option, your first response. Now, what if they say, well, no, but I'm looking for an agent that will do it for less, or so and so. You've already used that option, it didn't work. So now what? So now is where I want to say to you, the seller is giving you this objection because they're not feeling like, yeah, what this agent has showed me or told me so far doesn't make me feel like they're worth the amount of money they're wanting to charge. So it is a question of the value that they see in what it is you're going to do for them. And this is the exact, I mean, every single objection that I'm going to give you here, believe me, I'm going to give you a handler, okay? Because I know you want a script, and I know agents are looking for scripts. But I also want you to understand that at this point, if the seller is not feeling like, I don't think they're worth this amount of money, there's no script I can give you that's going to change that. It's what you've done up to this point that's making the seller feel that way. And unless it's not about saying to them, because here's a handler, Mr. Seller, I completely understand that you're looking for a lower commission. And can I share with you what concerns me about agents that are willing to do it for less? See, Mr. Seller, when you think about working with me in the sale of your home, you are hiring an agent not only to market your home aggressively, you're hiring a negotiator. You are hiring me to negotiate the highest price and best terms for you. And I know how important that is for you. Now, when you think about an agent who's willing to cut their commission just to take your listing, Mr. Seller, how strong can that agent be when it comes to negotiating the highest price for you when they cannot even negotiate the highest commission for themselves? That doesn't make any sense, does it? What you're looking for is a tough agent who's going to defend your equity. And that's exactly what I'm going to do for you, Mr. Seller. So let's just go ahead and get the paperwork signed so I can go to work for you. Okay. That's your one handler. Okay. Again, the challenge is whatever happened up until this point, if this seller is not feeling confident that you're worth the money you charge, saying this to them is not likely to change it. Okay? There's something else going on that they're thinking, whether it is how you made them feel. A lot of times agents go on a listing appointment and they're not feeling confident. They hesitate. I always say it like this: motivated sellers are looking for an aggressive agent. What is an aggressive agent? It's someone that, by the way they speak, what they say and how they say it, makes this seller feel like, I know what I'm doing. I can get this done for you. I am the best agent to do it for you. I am confident this is gonna get done and it'll be done right. And the seller feels it. The energy, the passion, the enthusiasm, the words that are being said and how it's being said, it's causing the seller to feel that way. Now, do you have to have all of this to show up like that? No, you don't have to. Energy and enthusiasm, that makes up for a lack of skill. So if you're watching this now, you're here with me and you're saying, well, I'm new to real estate. I don't have the experience and I don't have the knowledge and I don't really know what I'm doing. Energy, high energy, enthusiasm, passion makes up for a lack of skill. Can you bring that to every phone call, every door knock, every appointment, every prospect? Yeah, you can. It's inside of you. So while you're getting better at your skills, while you're becoming more knowledgeable, you're gaining experience, which you could put that on a fast track too. Remember, energy, enthusiasm will make up for that. Okay, the next objection, I want to think it over. Oh, again, you get to the end of your presentation, they say, I want to think it over. They're not feeling very confident. Now, I want to think it over is something they say to sort of, it's like a smoke screen. It's not the real objection. The real objection is, what is it that they need to think about? Okay. And my favorite way of handling this objection is actually prompting them before you start handling it, saying stuff. You got to repeat and approve, Mr. Seller. I hear you. I understand that selling your home is a very important decision, and the agent you will hire is a very important decision for you. So I understand that, you gotta give it some time. You gotta have some time to think about it. Now, when we discuss this, Mr. Seller, there's usually three different important items in the sale of your home that you might want to think about. The first one is, what am I going to do to sell your home in terms of my marketing plan and what I do to sell homes? Mr. Seller, do you have any questions about what I'm going to do to sell the home? And do you feel confident as I am, that I am the best agent to handle the sale for you? So, really, what you're doing here, this first one is the agent they're going to hire. What the agent's going to do, do you feel confident that I am the best agent? The second very important thing in the sale of this home is your motivation to sell. And based on everything that we've discussed, Mr. Seller, it sounds like that decision has already been made. And there's no question that you are selling this home, right? And you already know where they're moving to. You're pre-qualified. Obviously, you know. But you want to confirm that at this point. And then the last one is the price that we put on your home. Mr. Seller, based on all the information that I shared with you today and the market analysis and everything that we discussed, do you have any questions about the price? When you ask them to sign the contract, there's a price on that contract. So again, I'm assuming that you've already gone through the market analysis, they understand the comparables, you've agreed on a price. But sometimes they agree on a price, or they sort of agree, but in the back of their minds, they're like, yeah, no, another agent said they could get me more money. That's another one. We're going to talk about that next, or whatever. So in essence, the three things that they could possibly want to think about is my motivation to sell. Am I really going to sell? Do I really want to sell? Do I want to do it right now? The second one is the price. And then the agent that they will hire. Those are the three things they could possibly want to think about. So by asking them in the way that I just shared with you, it's going to help you figure out which one it is, or is it all of them, or is it two of them, so that you can then handle that. Okay. If it is the price, you might have to take them through the CMA again, and you might have to use some pricing objection handlers here to help them understand what's in their best interest. It's not in a seller's best interest to overprice their home. And you might have to go through some objection handlers. If it is the agent, same thing, something you said, how you said it, or whatever's going on here, they're not feeling it. And you're going to have to address that. So you don't want to just hear, I want to think about it, I'll call you tomorrow, you call me tomorrow, and leave. because you're not doing yourself any favors with this. You're going to probably call the next day. If you don't figure out what the objection is right now and handle it, it's not going to go away by itself. Most of the time, it is not. Okay. Let's go through the next one now, which is another agent said that they can get me more money. So we're going to repeat and approve. And I'm going to say, Mr. Seller, I hear what you're saying. And I imagine that from your perspective, you're thinking, whoa, I like that agent better because they told me a higher price. And obviously, you want to sell this home for the most money possible. And I want to assure you, Mr. Seller, that in working with you as your agent, selling this home for the absolute highest price this market can give us is my number one priority. I know how important that is for you, and that is my job. Now, may I share with you, Mr. Seller, what concerns me about another agent telling you a higher price? See, Mr. Seller, you and I looked at the properties that are currently available for sale in your area. We also look at the properties that have recently sold in the last 6 months in your area. And we talked about how important it is to look at that information carefully in deciding what price we're going to put on your property. Now, that other agent that told you they can get a higher price, they have access to this same information. Did they share this information with you? So see, Mr. Seller, sometimes agents will take listings, properties, homes for sale at a higher price, knowing that it's not going to sell at that price. And they figure once they have you tied into a contract, they can then start calling you every week or every couple of weeks and ask you for a price reduction. Now, there are also some agents out there, they may not even have the courage to ask you for a price reduction. They'll just take your listing overpriced. And as a result of having your house for sale, they're going to get a lot of buyer inquiries. And then they will take those buyers and sell them another property that is priced lower, or based on the price, it's offering more features for the price. There are some agents actually that benefit from your home being for sale. They're not really interested in selling it, because if they were, they would be helping you understand what this information that we looked at means, like I shared with you. They rather just keep your home on the market for 6 months and keep attracting buyers and take them out and sell them other homes. Now, you don't want to waste your time and you don't want to do that, right, Mr. Seller? Let's go ahead and price your home correctly so we can be the next property to sell in your area. All we need is your signature right here. Okay, so that's that. Now, the other one that I wrote down is, I want to interview other agents. Ouch. If you're not pre-qualifying your appointments, especially when you're going on appointments with for sale by owners and expireds, because they're getting a lot of calls from real estate agents. They're likely to be interviewing other agents. And if you don't pre-qualify and find out that they are interviewing other agents before you get there, really I'm going to give you a handler, but again, you gotta avoid getting this objection by knowing that they are interviewing other agents, asking, I'm just curious, Mr. Seller, who are the agents that you're interviewing, when they're interviewing them, strategize whether you want to go first or last. There's no one way that's always right. Sometimes you're better off going first. Sometimes you're better off going last. And there are a lot of questions you need to ask in order to determine that. So now you didn't do any of this, okay? So you get to the end of your appointment and I'm going to interview other agents. Here's what I would say. Mr. Seller, I understand why you would consider and want to interview other agents. I imagine that in this process, I mean, you don't just want to take of your time and waste your time interviewing agents. I'm sure that you feel it's important for you to speak with a few agents so that you can find an agent that you feel confident can get this home sold for you for the most money possible in the least amount of time with the least amount of hassle, right? And Mr. Seller, based on all the information that I showed you today, do you feel confident that I can get the job done for you? And I trust that you've done your job well up until now, and they will say yes. Because if they say no, well, yeah, but. Well, the yeah, but means not really. So I am going to talk to other agents because I don't feel so good that you're the right one to do this for me. That's really what they're saying to you. Now, if you know it, if you know that this is happening ahead of time, there are a lot of things you can do about it. But that's not the point of this this conversation I'm having with you here. So, the way that I handle that for you right now, I trust that if you've done things correctly, they will say yes and they'll go ahead and sign. Okay. The last one is, have you sold homes in my area? So obviously, if you have, this is easy. You just say, yes, I have, and I sold this home, that home, and the other home, and it's great. What if you haven't? Here's what you would say. Mr. Seller, I understand why you're asking me this question, because you want to make sure that I know I can sell your home, bottom line, right? And from your perspective, you're probably looking at it thinking, well, an agent that has sold homes in my area is more likely to know how to handle the sale of my home because they know the neighborhood or they sold homes around here. And I completely understand. And Mr. Seller, I have not sold, because you're not going to lie here, right? So you got to tell the truth. I have not sold any homes in your area. And here's why you want to hire me, Mr. Seller. I work in our entire area. So let's say, an entire county. I mean, here in South Florida, all of Miami, which is huge. Miami is a big area. I used to sell real estate in Fort Lauderdale. So at Fort Lauderdale, the actual city is in Broward County, and I used to sell houses in all of Broward County, which is a pretty large geographic area too. So how I would say it to them, I would say, Mr. Seller, here's why you would want to hire me, even though I haven't sold a home in your area. I work in all of Broward County. I sell homes in every part of the county, and I don't specialize in any particular area. And the advantage of that for you is, Mr. Seller, think about this. An agent that works in your area, or let's say specializes in your area, you may think about it in this way. You may look at it thinking, wow, this agent specializes in my area. So they will have buyers that are going to more likely be buying in this area. And I want you to consider this, Mr. Seller. If you are buying a home and you've decided to buy in this area, are you only going to look at homes that are listed with a particular agent? Or are you going to look at all of the homes for sale that match your criteria in your price range in this area, regardless of who the listing agent is? Of course, the latter, right? You would want to look at all of the homes that match your criteria. You don't care who the agent is. So see, Mr. Seller, an agent who's sold in the area or specializes in the area, they're not going to bring any buyers to you that other agents couldn't bring to you. Now, what I am going to do for you, because I work in all of Broward County and I have listings in all different parts of the county, I'm going to be able to attract and bring to your home buyers that are looking in other areas that may not even know that your area exists and how beautiful it is and how great the homes are here. So, in essence, what I do, because I sell all over Broward, is I can cross sell. I may have a buyer that calls me on a property that's 30 minutes away, and for whatever reason, that property is not exactly what they're looking for. And I can say, have you considered this other area? Wait until I show you this home that I have for sale there. So, in essence, I will be able to bring buyers to your home, Mr. Seller, that an area specialist wouldn't have access to. And this is how we maximize the exposure on your property, which really is how we're going to be able to sell it for the most money possible. And that's what you want, isn't it? Yeah, that's what I want. Great. Let's go ahead and sign the contract. So I trust that not only by listening to this, you could actually write the script, but I want you to understand the logic of what I said, because you need to understand the logic. You can memorize the words, but it makes total sense, which is exactly what happens. I mean, in order for a home to sell for the most money possible, you need more demand, okay? And when you are this type of agent, that you're not just focused in one small area, you're going to be able to bring in buyers from everywhere.